Kay bagong chair ng FDCP, Mr. Tirso Cruz III. At ang dami kong mga nakikita mga kakilala dito na ano no, mga sikat, mga magagaling. At masayang-masaya itong gabing ito. Okay. I'm not a spontaneous speaker, but I can only become spontaneous when I have cue cards. So, ito muna. Ngayon ko lang sinulat ito. Pero itong lahat nasa memory ko naman. Okay. The film you are about to watch tonight, the Moises Padilla story, made in 1961, had been presumed lost. No? And tonight I will talk about how it came to be, and that's why we'll still be able to experience watching this film tonight. No? One of the great Philippine film classics. 1961, two great films came out. No? One was the Moises Padilla story, directed by Jerry De Leon, starring Leopoldo Salcedo. And the second film was Noli Me Tangere, directed by Jerry De Leon, and also starring Leopoldo Salcedo. So the two films competed during the following year's Palmas Awards, and then Noli Me Tangere was declared Best Picture, but Moises Padilla's story won for Leopoldo Salcedo the Best Acting Award for 1961, during the famous awards. Just to give you a little bit of the historical context behind the film. The events portrayed in this film deal with political events that happened in Negros Occidental, no? Particularly in the city of Magallaon. It was called Magallaon then, now it's called Moises Padilla. That happened in 1949, no? And it was a very hotly disputed election between between Moises Padilla, who was a political labor leader, against the incumbent at the time, Governor Lacson. And this film was made in 1961. The primary motive actually was to portray one of the parties as a lesser candidate compared to the other one, no? Because this film was, in fact, a semi-propaganda film that was funded by the Carlos P. Garcia administration in order to defeat then upcoming President Macapagal. No? So that's the story behind the film, why it was made. And this was recounted to me by the producer of the film, Mr. Manuel Lagonzat, when I interviewed him way back in 1982. No? So how did this film come about? No, how did we come to recover this print? And that's another very interesting story by itself. No, which these are all on record. We have a report that was submitted to the ECP on how this project was made. But what happened was that in 1981, Gerardo de Leon had just died, and then he was proclaimed National Artist for Cinema, for film. No, only the second one to be given that award after Bert Abellana in 1976. So the experimental cinema of the Philippines, the ECP, that was the forerunner actually of the FDCP, in 1982 decided under its leadership that, and it's also in their mandate, to mount a retrospective of the films of Gerardo de Leon. Now, the question was, where are the films and where do you find them? There being no film archives at the time, this was such a gargantuan task. And then, so the ECP approached Lina Broca to organize a team to handle this retrospective. And the following people were approached, no? film critic Agustin Soto was then Manunuri, graphic designer Vic Delotabo, who designed movie posters. And by the way, because they were they were approached by Lino Broca because the two of them were two of the most avid fans of and scholars of Jerry De Leon at that time. No? And of course, and also the writer Petronila Cleto, no? And myself, no? Because I happened to be in the company of these three people when Lino Broca approached us suddenly at one point. My three colleagues have already parted are gone already from this world. No? So I'm the only one here left to recount what happened. So the first thing here is, where do you find this print? By the way, the ECP retrospective, we showed 13 films of Jerry De Leon, no? Had survived during that time, that we were able to find, which included Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. How did I find the producer of this film? Fortunately, I had done some research. I went to some film people, and it was Leopoldo Salcedo who told me that the producer of Moises Padilla's story was still alive. And you can find him at the Taza de Oro coffee shop in Rose Boulevard, no? On certain days. So I went to the coffee shop almost every week, staking him out, and finally I met Mr. Maning Lagunsad. Who was Mr. Maning Lagunsad? No? He actually was a movie producer at the time, and also he was the owner of a publication called Movie Confidential, and he had various businesses too. Aside from that, he was a member of the FAMAS board, you know? And so I managed to find Mr. Lagunsad, and I asked him, Mr. Lagunsad, where can I find a copy of Moises Padilla's story? It took him some time, and then he said, I think I left a print in Davao because that's where he's from. You know? And it took 3 months for the print to be retrieved. So finally, it arrived in Manila, and we around August of 1982, you know, and then we were able to preview it and fix it because it had been damaged. So, and then we decided that this could be the opening film of the Jerry De Leon retrospective. Mind you, this was not a digital copy. This was a 35 original print, no, with a lot of damage already, you know. So when we were screening the film, I think 2 or 3 times it broke, and we had to resplice back some scenes. You know, so the film premiered at its premiere in September 12, 1982. You know, and Mr. Leopoldo Salcedo was in attendance, aside from the family of Gerardo de Leon. You know, they were all present. The remaining siblings of Gerardo de Leon were all there. And then I have a side anecdote, no, which I think you will find very entertaining to know about. Is one of the stars in Moises Padilla's story is actually the villain of the film. No, a certain actor by the name of Joseph Estrada. He's not here with us tonight, unfortunately, but it would be nice to reminisce with him. But I can tell you what the producer told me about how he got Joseph Estrada into this, to act as a villain, as the bad guy in this film. Because we know Joseph Estrada always plays the good guy. How did this come about to be? Well, in 1961, there was a scandal that happened at the LBN Studios. No? There was a gun battle in which a big actor, Boy Santa Romana, was killed. And Joseph Estrada and some other actors happened to be in that incident. And Mr. Estrada era was being implicated somehow, even if he had been innocent. So no producer wanted to touch him. until Mr. Lagunsat saw an opportunity and said, okay, he approached Joseph Estrada and then said, maybe you'd like to act in this film. And Estrada, since he had no movies, and he was not yet the independent, he was not yet the Arab that we know, no? Who became a big star at this point. He was still a rising star, agreed to play the bad guy in this film. Mhm. So, another thing is, this film, for many years, had a missing reel. It had a missing scene, uh, which was taken out uh, from the film print, the 35 film print, because it was lent to a film critic in London, which he used for his documentary on Philippine cinema, no? Mr. Tony Raines. And this documentary was made in 1983. No? I was his production manager on this documentary, and so when Mr. Raines asked me if he can find a good clip from a Jerry De Leon film for his documentary, I took out one reel, which happened to be the major sequence actually in this film. So for many years, this missing reel was not in the film. No? And then finally in 2021, Central Digital through Manette Diary, actually through Rick Hawthorne, approached me and asked me, and told me that they would be restoring finally Moises Padilla in 4K. And I told Rick Hawthorne about the missing reel and surrendered it to him. No? So tonight you will see maybe the first complete copy of the film since its initial screening in 1982. No? So the lesson here in researching all about old cinema, Philippine cinema, is PPP, no? Like, I don't mean pista ng pelikulang Pilipino, but a lot of patience, persistence, and passion. So it took 20 years to find the print, no, from 1961 to 1982. But it took longer, another 40 years, to restore and reconstitute the film properly for its screening tonight. So I hope that all of you will enjoy this film. This is actually one of the great classics of Philippine cinema, and you will see why. In fact, if it's possible to make a discussion, we should do that. But anyway, the film is here, and you are all lucky to be watching this film tonight. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Sir Teddy, for enlightening us about a true Filipino film classic.